Welcome everyone. My name is Charlotte Lee. I am Chief of Staff at 1776, but today joining you as Chapter Director for Startup Grind Philadelphia. For those of you who are not familiar with Startup Grind, it is a huge, incredible global network. Chapters in over 125 countries, 600 chapters, over 600 chapters in 125 countries, millions of folks who tune in to programs like this, our Fireside Chat, where we bring together leaders, entrepreneurs, experts to talk about their field, their journey, share stories, because we believe that building community is a really incredible way to progress all of us forward, and sharing stories and hearing from one another. I will tell you that this is my penultimate event with Startup Grind as host. We are closing out, 1776 is closing out our hosting at the end of this year and handing it off, I'm so excited to say, to Jacqueline, who is on our call today. She is on the leadership team of Philly Startup Leaders. And when we decided that we would sunset our time with the chapter, they were the absolute first organization that we thought of who could take over. Incredible advocates for the startup community here in Philadelphia, and they'll be doing a fantastic job. So Jacqueline, hello and thank you. So we will not be missing a beat. We are going to close our time. I'm very excited. Next month, we are flipping the script, and I'm going to be interviewing our CEO, Jen Mayer, who Stephanie knows well. They serve on a board at PAC together. And then starting in January, Jacqueline will be taking the lead. So Jacqueline, I wish you well. I'm excited for you to pick up the mantle and carry on the good work. So if you are not familiar with Startup Grind, get familiar. Hop over to the website, what you had to do to register, but learn more, see all the chapters. We're global, so you could tune into events like this from all over the world to learn about what's happening in the entrepreneurial space. And a little plug for 1776. We're a huge network of incubators up and down the East Coast and opening in the Midwest in early 2021, aiming for around Valentine's Day, our official open. We're very excited about that. And we really work hard to offer programming like this to our entrepreneur communities, to the regions that we serve and beyond. Again, building that community, really trying to provide resources and information and accessibility to anyone who has that entrepreneurial spirit and drive. So let's dig in. Today, I am so excited to welcome Stephanie Humphrey, AKA Tech Life Steph, if you follow her on the web. She is a tech lifestyle guru. She is a television contributor. If you have not seen her, she has been on a number of programs giving her expertise in tech and lifestyle. And she also is a speaker. As she was saying before we hit record, she does a lot of speaking at schools, which we'll dig into in her passion for educating our youth about being good digital citizens. So Stephanie, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
We're so glad to have you. I'm really glad that Jen could make that intro and bring you in and have you share about yourself as 1776 closes out hosting. I think you are a perfect penultimate guest. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
I would love to start. I always like to start off asking people to share if you had a Wikipedia page, which you actually might have a Wikipedia page.
I don't think I do. I've never checked that, surprisingly enough, but yeah, I don't think I have reached that level yet.
Maybe we'll get that started after our call today.
That's right.
So I like to think through, if you had a Wikipedia page, how would it read? I think Wikipedia pages are very interesting for people because it digs back into like early life and education. Sometimes it talks about legacy, you know, what you would be leaving behind. So give us the whole Stephanie Humphrey story.
Wow. So it would start probably around college, undergrad. It's early years would probably start somewhere around there. In my engineering pursuits, I have a bachelor's degree in engineering from Florida A&M University. I got to work with NASA while I was there, so I'd want that included because it was just an awesome experience.
We'll have the NASA logo really prominent on your Wikipedia page.
Exactly, big meatball right in the
NASA.
Middle of the page there. And then it would transition into my professional life. I actually did work as an engineer for 13 years, actually, for Lockheed Martin in their systems engineering department. Got my master's degree while I was there. So I have a MS in telecommunications and networking from the University of Pennsylvania. And it may talk about the beginnings of the transition, the becoming Tech Life Steph story, which didn't actually start in technology. It started in media when I did A Favor for a Friend and modeled in her fashion show. And there was a woman there that had an agency and said, "Hey, do you do this professionally?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not a size 0. I'm not 6 feet tall, but clearly there is a lot more to the modeling industry than just runway modeling." And so I just, out of curiosity more than anything else, started looking into what that might look like as a side hustle. And so started doing a little bit of that, started doing a little bit of on camera stuff, started doing a little bit of acting, just dabbling the whole time, working full time. And there was a point where I just thought that, wasn't happy with cubicle life at all. So I had been looking for some sort of exit strategy that would take me away from that. I had been doing some personal training and all kind of different stuff. And I was like, you know what? I kind of really like just being in front of a camera, running my mouth. I'm pretty good at it. Who knew, So as I'm looking into what a career would look like, it really started out with traffic reporting. I reported traffic for CBS and KYW for a number of years, and I thought it would make its way into entertainment reporting. Back then, I was very much into celebrity gossip and that whole thing, and red carpets and who were you wearing, and I found that was a really difficult area of media to break into, especially if you don't have a journalism degree. That was sort of predating, being able to just go viral on Instagram, showing up on red carpets, doing viral stuff that'll get you noticed. You actually had to have, kind of real education, background training. And so I was getting a lot of that pushback from networks around the fact that I didn't have a journalism degree. So it was kind of like, do I want to keep doing this? And I did, but it was there would be an entry in there for pivotal moment because there was a pivotal moment in a meeting with an executive from Comcast a few years back where he just completely flipped my idea of what I might do in the media on its head, and was the one that suggested that I incorporate technology into what I was doing in the media space. And to be quite honest, it hadn't occurred to me at the time that I could do those two things together. But, once that seed was planted, Tech Life Steph was born. This was January of 2011. Actually, Tech Life Steph was born in that room, in that meeting.
Almost 10 years.
I know. It's so crazy. So wow. I just realized that when you said that, my
January, girl.
Anniversary is coming up. Seriously. So, Tech Life Steph was born that day, and I've been working ever since to basically just show people how technology makes their lives easier. That is literally my elevator pitch across a variety of platforms.
Amazing. I will tell you that I have a past life in entertainment as well. I was in a performing arts group, which is not the big thing, but I ended up working in television production in LA for a bit. Red carpets are not as glamorous as they appear to be.
Oh, they're awful.
They're so terrible. You think that they're going to be this thing, and then you're like, okay, everyone's close to me, and a lot of yelling and a lot of intensity.
And handlers. And then I was working with a very small media outlet that nobody really knew about.
Like, I don't need to talk to you.
People, yes, the PR people are like moving their folks on by, and I'm like, please wait. It was definitely not, the dream job that I thought it might be. So I'm not mad that I'm not doing it.
It was fun to get that insight and kind of see behind the curtain and be like, okay, I understand, but then you're like seeing how the sausage is made, and after a while you're like,
don't need it. Exactly.
It's not as cute. It's not as fun. But now you're helping people, which is way better than reporting on the fashion. And you can report on the fashion in your own time, which is very important to still do. Got to comment on the fashion. And I really love that you said that was a pivotal moment where that executive kind of pulled the ends together for you.
Yes.
And I feel like I was just on a call earlier today where we were kind of talking about how there is kind of a knowledge or connection gap that I feel like people have when they just sort of have a set of skills and they aren't quite sure how to apply them. And it just takes that person to go, there are more facets to what you're interested in than what your vantage is showing you.
Exactly.
You know?
I hadn't ever even considered it. And it's funny, I spent the rest of that day and the next day just like, what have I been doing this whole time? Like, I've been wasting my in Tech Life Steph 5 years ago. But I think, for me, it was the idea that I was so unhappy in my engineering role. And don't get me wrong, Lockheed was a great place to work in that it gave me the latitude to kind of explore all of these things while still being able to earn a living. So I appreciate it for that. But the work just was not fulfilling to me at all. So I think I was so anxious and eager to get away from the work that I sort of threw the baby out with the bathwater, so to speak, and threw away everything about who I was at that moment. And I tell people all the time, like, I was born an engineer, you know what I mean? I was born to figure out how things work. I love solving problems. I love thinking through things in a very logical way. And so, the idea that I could still retain that part of myself really, and then, combine it with this new thing that I found that I also love was just revelatory for me. It really, really was.
That's awesome. When you were reporting the weather, did you get to fly in the helicopter?
Traffic.
Oh, traffic.
Everybody always goes right to weather. Traffic.
I'm sorry. When you were doing the traffic, did you get to fly in the helicopter?
I never did. I know. It's I did used to get to go around. I did used to get to drive around in the car, and there was a car and report real time what was happening. So I did used to drive around in the car when there was like accidents and stuff. But no Chopper Dan here. No.
I know that. Hello, calling in from. Oh, that would have been
exactly.
Okay, so I want to ask, because I think the average person who desires to be an engineer does not have a desire to be in front of a camera. And when I started reading about you and it said engineer training, and I was like, I could maybe on one hand name the number of engineers who would then want to be in front of the camera using their voices and their faces to present information. So that totally fascinates me. And have you found that you are an anomaly in that?
A total unicorn, a complete, because, and to be perfectly honest, it wasn't anything I wanted to do. Honestly, it wasn't like, I was just like, well, I'll just go be an engineer and play it safe. But I secretly always wanted to be, it just wasn't like that. It wasn't, I don't think it was necessarily, I didn't think I could do it. It just never occurred to me. I liked math and science. So it just followed naturally that I would pursue that sort of career. And it literally just never occurred to me. And I am a person of faith. So I give it all to God. Honestly, I'm like, it literally was never a thought or an idea in my head that, eventually or ultimately I want to end up on television. Like I hadn't charted this path. I hadn't done anything to that degree. I was so I'll just real quick the story. So I was working out because again, I was looking for some sort of exit strategy out of that cubicle, and in my mind, it was going to be fitness. I had gotten really into working out, and I really wanted to help Black women, especially, kind of come to fitness and not have all of those barriers with our hair and I don't want people looking at me. And there was just the place I was working out at the time was exclusive. It was really someone's basement. Let's just keep it all the way real. This woman's basement, but she was an older Black woman.
Yeah.
She was literally like 70 years old. She could out push up me and out sit up me any day of the week. And she created space in her home, in her basement, where Black women could come together in a safe space, really, before safe space was a thing, and just work out. And she was a trainer. She came up with these custom programs for each of us based on where we were in our fitness journey, and just really made that community where we could laugh, we could support each other. Nobody cared that they had an extra role here or whatever. And I'm like, this could be a thing. Like, you could take this model and duplicate it and franchise it and make it a real thing. So I was really excited about the idea of doing that. I actually got certified to teach group fitness. So I was teaching kickboxing and doing all this different stuff, and it's still working, mind you.
Yeah.
But one of the women that I went to that basement with was the manager of the Dress Barn on City Avenue. Right in there with the Acme and all that.
I know.
And she was having a fashion show, and she said, "Oh my God, you have to come be in my show. We're going to put you in something cute to show your little stomach off." This was a while ago. And when I had abs to show off, and she said, and if you do it, I'll give you a discount on whatever you buy as a thank you for doing it. So it was like, of course, it was a no-brainer. And honestly, it was literally just a favor for a friend. That was my own motivation, was to do this favor for a friend and buy some stuff afterwards. And that's where the woman that had the agency was, and that was all she wrote.
I love that. Oh, that was cool. It was just a destiny opportunity right there.
That's it. One of those moments that, the universe puts together, and you just are like, okay, let's see what we can do with this,
That's fantastic. And I love that you have so really quickly, applied your own brand to helping people build their own, but particularly helping kids be aware of what exists out there on the internet. It's such a fascinating thing to think about, generations who now only ever have lived with the internet and such incredible access to it all the time. I am not a parent, but I am a godmother and an auntie. And I have deep concerns about those kids and what they are looking at, eventually what they'll be sharing, who they're connecting with. So talk to us about digital citizenship, kind of how you started, building upon this idea, how you kind of made this a real highlighted avenue of your efforts, and some of the work that you do.
So that was Till Death Do You Tweet is a workshop for students, parents, or professionals. So there's 3 different variations of it that just helps people become better digital citizens through responsible social media use, but also through an understanding that you do have a personal brand that you need to be responsible for. And it's funny, this actually started back when I was still an engineer, because, working for Lockheed Martin, they're a government defense contractor. I was under top secret clearances. So I really wasn't at liberty to talk a lot about what I did. The most I could say was performance analysis and requirements verification, which doesn't sound very sexy at all, and
or clear.
Super vague. And it's just like, what does that mean? That's all I can really tell you. Sorry.
Yeah.
So when I was being asked to come into career days at schools, I have a lot of friends in the area that are educators, and it's like, oh my God, you're an engineer, come in and talk to the kids about what you do. And I'm like, oh, it's not a whole lot I can actually say. I said, so I came up with sort of the framework of Till Death You Tweet. I called it something else at the time, but it was really more just like, hey, have you thought about what can happen online? Privacy and safety and things like that. And the cyberbullying piece of it as well. So it was, I might come in, I'd tell my friends like, all right, I don't have any problem coming in to talk to the kids, but give me 15 minutes to talk about this thing first, and then I can just answer questions about what it means to be an engineer, how you can become an engineer, and things like that. Because that's where the kids were, and this was at the time when we were seeing, a spike in the cyberbullying related suicides that were happening online. And in particular, I can remember Ask.fm as a platform had like 14 or 15 suicides attributed to that platform alone in a particular year. And so it's like, these kids are dying out here, forget everything else and sharing, nudes and all that other stuff hadn't even really come into the conversation. But these kids are literally killing themselves because they're being inundated with this sort of content from people, all around the world, really. So it started being more than just a add-on to Career Day. And I started sort of thinking about what I could say that would actually reach young people, because I wasn't going to be the grown-up that comes in and says, don't you do that social media thing.
Oh,
like,
it's inevitable. They're gonna be on there.
It doesn't work. You know what I mean? Telling them not to do it is not going to work. You're not going to tell me not to do it. So, like, to expect a 14-year-old to put their phone down is even more far-fetched. So, it was probably, I don't even know the year, but there was a point where I sort of keyed in on that idea of personal brand. And the realization and the recognition that, it's not just celebrities or, grown-ups or people looking for jobs or, anything like that. You can't remove yourself, even as a young person, from that idea.
Right.
And so once I sort of keyed in on that and made that not necessarily the focal point, but that's where the conversation starts. When I go into a school, when I get on a Zoom call, before we even get into, TikTok, we're talking about branding, and it's that ownership that they get from that part of the conversation that changes the way they think about how they behave online. Because now it's like, oh man, I didn't even think about my brand. Oh my God. And then, you follow that up with real world examples of students that look like them that didn't think about their brand ahead of time and what happened to them. And, but then you give them those positive examples as well. Like, this is what you could be doing. It just changes the conversation altogether. It was a total game changer. And it really did, kind of put the onus back on them. Like, you can kind of do whatever you want, but you do have this thing that you need to be looking out for. So it's been amazing. Like, the DMs I get from students and, after seminars, like, everybody's rushing. Can you check how does my Instagram look? Is this okay? Is this bio really? I don't know. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing how their mindset shifts when they have some stake in what they're doing.
Which is so valuable when working with kids. I have worked with children throughout my career up until I got into the entrepreneurial space. I suddenly am without access to, those teaching moments. But I find, this goes for adults too, but information breeds confidence. And I think especially for kids, when you talk to them like they're a kid, they usually tune out and they don't take you seriously. When you speak to them like a human, you don't have to treat them like an adult if they are not that, but don't talk about them like they're not there, and don't talk about them like they don't know, because particularly in 2020 and where we are now, kids are so smart and they are so plugged in. Yes. They know what's going on in a way that I think I was spared at their age just because we didn't have this stuff.
Honestly, and I wish they could be spared. I feel for them, because just to be inundated with this much information it's too much for a young brain to process. But I'll tell you, as smart as they are and as savvy as they are about, kind of digital life, they're not smart about the brand part.
No.
Because I literally just did a workshop 2 weeks ago, 2 Wednesdays ago. Was it last one? No, 2 Wednesdays ago at Gwynedd Mercy High School.
What is time? And it's fine.
I know. It's just a total vacuum.
What's time?
But I actually, they had some really good social distancing practices in place. So I was able to actually go into the school and speak to the girls. And literally every single workshop I do, the first question is, after we have this conversation, it's like, okay, we know what a brand is in the larger sense, like Nike or whatever. We know some celebrities that are brands and they're this thing. And then the question comes, who in here thinks they're a brand? And I can tell you, if I had $1 for everybody that raised their hand, I would only have $1. Like across the board of all the students I've ever asked, I only ever get maybe 2 kids that sheepishly say, I think I do. And it's just something they haven't even considered.
Yeah.
They've never thought of themselves in that way. They haven't considered that whole concept or idea. And it's not a knock against them. It's just, who would think of themselves that way at 13 or 14 years old? We got adults out here that really ain't paying enough attention to their brands. So that conversation is not being had. And again, it's you see that light bulb coming on when you say that to them, like, listen, if I'm the first person to tell you, here it is, you have this thing. So it's really been a great way to help them understand the impact of their online behavior.
That's fantastic. And you're a new author.
I am.
Don't let your digital footprint kick you in the butt.
Don't let it kick you in the butt.
With that sneaker, which I love that sneaker. I know you're a sneaker.
Shout out to my brother. My brother's an artist. Yeah, he's amazing. He can do kind of, not that I'm trying to plug him right now, but I kind of am. But he does everything, graphic design, tattoos, like everything. But yeah, when I told him, because I wear Chucks at all my presentations, wherever I'm going, into a corporate setting, into a school, Chucks are my thing, so I just told him, I was like, listen, I want a sneaker, because of footprint, obviously. And he just took it and ran with it. And I cried when I saw this, because it was so perfect. And it just encapsulated everything I was trying to convey so perfectly in just one thing. So it's been,
That's
proud
great.
brother.
Good job, brother.
Yes.
But good job you, because you wrote a book.
I did, right?
Good job you. Tell us about the book. Tell us what's in there and kind of what you hope comes from it.
So it's an extension of Till Death Do You Tweet. It was originally and initially intended for students, because I had found that after all of my seminars, invariably a teacher or the principal or someone would come up to me and say, do you have any resources that we could use to kind of keep the conversation going? Oh my God, the kids loved it. We just want to be able to. And I'm like, I'm working on something. I promise it's coming. So it's a continuation. It's a, kind of a reinforcement of the messaging that they got in the seminar, but it's a continuation of it as well. So we take it a little bit further with more deep dives into case studies. There's a very healthy section LinkedIn in here, and how to set up your account and what you should be putting in your summary.
Should have LinkedIn.
Absolutely. And what I found though is, the adults that have gotten their hands on it have been like, oh my God, like I didn't realize that I needed to be doing this, that, and the third. And I went in there and I saw that LinkedIn section and I went and changed, my summary or my headline or whatever. So I think it's useful for anybody that, is thinking about how to sort of craft their personal brand and how not to mess it up online. But it really is for, middle school, high school, early college students to just start getting that understanding and putting better stuff out there.
That's awesome. And so valuable to learn early on, and to have parent buy-in, So I think a resource like that is so valuable because they can be doing it together.
Exactly.
And help make sure they're communicating what they both would desire out of a brand. And, if it's before the child is an adult, like the parent helping, make sure that they are doing something safe and presenting themselves in a safe and positive way.
And that's perfect. You say that, because there are exercises in the book as well. So,
amazing.
As you're reading through, there's little points where you do sit down, you could sit down with your parent or a teacher in a classroom setting and say, hey, let's work on our elevator pitch today. What do we want our brand to say about us? Let's think about our username and our profile photo today. Let's think about our bio today. Let's go work through these scenarios and these situations and put some pen to paper so that we have a real solid understanding of how we should be looking online.
Yeah, I love that. And I know you are passionate about STEM. I would imagine particularly for young women, and I would imagine very particularly for young women of color, those fields who have just massive disparities and such outrageous lack of opportunity for young people of color, but particularly young women.
Yeah.
What sort of things have you been involved in? What kind of progress have you seen or maybe hope to see? What are some things that we out here listening or adjacently participating in those industries, what can we do to, bolster those opportunities and participate, do you think?
I think it's really a question of visibility, and a good friend of mine, Jumoke Dada, she runs and operates and has founded an organization called the Tech Women Network. With that, yeah, she does the Hugh Tech Summit every year, and she has really sort of keyed in on this idea of no more hidden figures. You're familiar with the movie from last year, and it really is that idea of we have to be willing, number one, to step out of the shadows. I mean, you said earlier, like, I don't know anybody in this space that would be willing to get in front of a camera and start talking. And that's an issue. And I don't want anybody to do anything they're not comfortable with, but we have to be more intentional about making ourselves seen and helping young girls understand that this is not just the boys, job or career. Because it's funny because it's like, I know tons of women in STEM, like literally tons. I went to school, I went to an HBCU, like all my friends are women in STEM, of women of color in STEM in particular. So, why are we still talking about the fact that girls aren't going into these careers and these fields and I think it's a matter of visibility. I think it goes back to visibility and we all just have to, and I think that's happening. I do believe that's happening with, tech girls here in this area, Black Girls Code, nationally and different initiatives like that. I think we need as many of those as we can get. So I would encourage somebody that might be thinking of doing something like that. Don't feel like because a Black Girls Code exists that you can't do it too. Right. We need as many as we can get, even if you're just, helping the three little girls in your neighborhood learn, that's three more girls that get that exposure and get the understanding of this as a career choice, as a potential career choice. So I think it's just the emphasis is on all of us really in this space to just be as visible as we can. And, whether that means once a month, your local school, talk to the principal. I mean, schools are dying for content right now. Yeah. They always have been. They would welcome anyone come in, do something. It doesn't have to be a big thing. I think we think you have to start a nonprofit and get a 501c3 and then do this whole, thing. And it literally could just be a matter of, popping in on Zoom once a month or once a quarter even to talk with girls and just let them see you.
Yeah. And I think, again, going back to that executive who made the connection for you, I think as early as we can present those connecting threads to youth, but to young women to say, do you like doing puzzles? You might like this thing. Do you like talking? You might like this thing, and helping them understand what they are innately and naturally good at, how that can be applied and what avenues they could explore and discover with those skill sets.
That is critical because I think when you think about STEM and tech, you just think of one thing. You think of some geeks sitting in the lab doing some boring stuff. And we do have to just be very intentional about showing the connection between tech and fashion or tech and commerce or tech. I mean, every company is a tech company, right? So
every company is a tech company.
It's like we have to be more intentional about just connecting those dots, like you said, for our girls to understand that they have a place here.
Yeah. And I saw that you did Big Brothers Big Sisters. You're a big sis.
I am not currently a big sister. I've been a big sister twice. I'm not currently a big sister right now. I probably at some point will get another little, but it's a great organization. It's a great way to just, hang. And again, it doesn't have to be super heavy. You're just, you're hanging out and you're providing that of a thing, basically, whatever it is you want to portray to a young person, you're giving them that opportunity to ask questions and just soak in knowledge. And it just, I can't say enough how important it is for us to do whatever we can. It may not need to be something as formal as that, but if you have a little girl on your block, you know what I mean, just wave to her every now and again and develop that relationship to the point where maybe she says, "What do you do?" And you're like, "Well, I write code for a living." "Well, what does that mean?" And that's how that kind of thing starts. So it definitely is. It's all of our responsibility.
Definitely. My grandfather was a big brother. I'm always excited when I find people who participated. Yeah, but he was for the same fellow for years and years. And this guy, Joe, ended up being almost like an uncle or cousin. Like he was around, so really incredible bonds are created through opportunities like that and incredible support systems created for kids who might not otherwise have them. I want to open it up to our audience. I know we can't see all of you, but I know that you're there. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. Otherwise, I'm going to kind of wrap up our more serious questions and then hit you with a couple just fun and light ones. Well, we'll get to that in a minute. But I did want to ask a couple others. You're a Pennsylvania native. Yeah.
Yes, I'm from Pittsburgh originally, born and raised.
Yes. Okay. And did you make your way to Philly just for school?
No, I did undergrad in Florida, in Tallahassee. Right. Yeah. So I came back to Philly because I wanted to be close to home, but not at home.
I know that.
There's not a whole lot going on in Pittsburgh. So I wasn't chopping at the bit to get back there, but I wanted to be able to, within reason, get back home if I needed to. And I definitely wanted to stay East Coast based. So that was sort of the motivation to come to Philly.
Nice. All right. Well, no chat questions. I'm going to ask you some fun random questions.
All right, let's do it.
Do you prefer the beach or the mountains?
Ooh, that's a great question. I love different things about both of them because I do like being in the woods and that whole idea of hiking and that. But I mean, who doesn't love a beach? Yeah. That would be I guess I'd have to ultimately go with beach just because it's the beach. But I do love the mountains too.
Good. It's a good answer. You get to choose whatever you want. If you were going to take a really long road trip, do you like to be the driver or the passenger?
The driver. Yeah? I'm a type A. Yeah. I like being in control.
Me too. My husband and I took a 7,000-mile road trip this summer. We drove to California and back.
Nice.
And I think I drove 6 of the 7,000 miles.
I believe it. I used to drive to school. I used to drive by myself from Pittsburgh to Tallahassee.
I love it.
Back and forth. And it's funny. Quick story. Before I got my car in college, I rode home with a couple of people. And one of the young ladies lived in Philly. It was her car. The girl whose car it was, she lived in Philly, and then another girl that lived in Pittsburgh with me. And so she was like, "Well, I don't want to drive home by myself. So if you guys ride home with me, I'll drive you home to Pittsburgh." I don't think she realized how far that was when she.
I don't think she did.
No, I don't think she really knew. She didn't. But I was like, "Listen,
you're not next door,
right?" I'm like, "If you're gonna do it, I need to get home, and I don't have a whole lot of money. So listen, let's do it." So
she drove one time for you. Did she only do that the one time?
Yeah, no, it was literally just the one time. Yeah. But we started out because Jacksonville is 2 hours from Tallahassee, straight down due east, down I-10. So she took the first shift, if you will, and she was like, "Okay, I'll drive to Jacksonville." We get to Jacksonville. She drove 2 hours. She's like, "Okay, who wants to go next?" And I'm just like, "What? Ain't nobody got time for this." I literally said, "I'll go next." She fell asleep in the car. I woke her up to get directions to her house in Philadelphia. Literally. I was like, all right, we're in Pennsylvania. How do I get to your house? She's like, what? How are we here already? I was like, because I don't mess with. She had a radar detector too. So man, you couldn't. I mean, I think, I probably broke some laws and some speed records and a few other different things. But yeah, I like to be the one driving.
Yeah. No, in driver's ed, my instructor said there are speed limits, but if you ever get pulled over, you can speak to that you are following the flow of traffic.
That's it.
Anytime my husband's like, you're going a little fast, I'm like, I'm just following the flow of traffic.
I'm just following. Listen, when I took
that person in front of me is going this fast.
When I took my driver's test, the police officer that did my driver's test, because I failed it the first time. That's a whole nother story. I know. But the second time, I was so freaked out about messing up from the first time. I was driving really slow. And he was like, driving too slow is just as bad as driving too fast. You need to keep up with the flow of traffic. He specifically said flow of traffic. And he said, you need to keep up with the flow of traffic. And I've never forgotten that. And you never have to worry about me doing that again.
No, me neither.
Like,
my driver's ed teacher he was the most boring teacher, but I remember that one piece of information.
That's right. That's like license to
go
hit that
down.
Accelerator. That's right.
Okay. I know we can't really go out to local places, but what Philly places do you just love to take people to? That's always my favorite. I've moved a lot. I'm from Northern California originally, and I've moved a lot. And anytime family or friends came to visit me in my new place, I always would get excited to show them like, oh, you're going to love this place.
Right. Let's see Ooh, that's a good question too.
I mean, we haven't been anywhere in 7 months, so it's hard to remember where things exist.
It's been so hard. See, I love a good breakfast or a good brunch. Yeah. So I'm always looking for like the quintessential pancake. So I love Cafe Lift for that. They have these lemon ricotta pancakes that are absolutely amazing, and they're good every single time. The consistency is the key with the pancakes. They're good every time. Love Honey's,
Yes,
it always takes some Honey's. Yeah, no, I love Honey's. They have the best, the Jewish apple cake there is ridiculous.
Insane. And their latkes are insane. Their latkes are
so good. I will do Honey's. Where's another good breakfast spot of mine? I mean, green eggs, of course. You can't go wrong. I've taken the green eggs. Yeah.
I feel like green eggs has a very sweet, heavy menu, though.
They do.
Breakfast girl.
Those ginormous red velvet.
Just stacked with sugar.
It gets a little overwhelming sometimes, but I do.
But they do good work.
They do. So any good breakfast spot. I'm always looking for the good breakfast spots.
All right, we'll meet up at Honey's when it's safe to do so again, because it is my
favorite. A date. Yes,
I love that place. All right, 2 final questions. I know that you are a fellow nerd, and I love this about you. If you all didn't notice all of the incredible characters behind her, there's Yoda and Superman. I think we got some Black Panther over on one side.
Magneto, we got Black Panther.
It's Bubble Magneto.
Yes.
I love it. So, fictional characters, who is someone you really identify with or really admire that their character traits are someone you said, it's a very valuable character to have as a representation of a good person or whatnot?
Wow, that's a great question. I tend to admire people for the bad things that they do. Like I said, Magneto is one of my favorite characters.
He's amazing.
And it's because of the physics. It's a geeky thing. It's not because he's like killing folks, but that's part of it. But it's because he uses electromagnetics as his power. And that just, to me, it just blows my mind that one thing controls so much. Cause I'm enamored with physics. Like I did okay in it. I did pretty good one time in physics 1, but then physics 2, physics 3, but I just love the idea that physics concepts govern how our universe operates.
Yeah.
Literally everything can be boiled down to a physics concept and can be described with using a physics, formula or something like that. It just blows my mind that one science sort of, encapsulates how we're able to exist in this universe. So, the idea that this one character has that power, and has been able to harness that power to do so many different things with it. Every time I see him on screen, and then Michael Fassbender, come on. Come on.
Well, and Ian McCullum.
And Sir Ian, yes. And Sir Ian, yes.
Ian.
So it's just like, you put those two things together, and anytime I see him on screen, as a character, I'm just like, but yeah. So, but I'm a big Star Wars fan too. So I love, that idea of good versus evil, Yoda is my dude, and just the wisdom and the understanding the patience required, discipline required to achieve something or accomplish something. I'm definitely a big Star Wars fan for that reason as well.
I love that. And you've been watching The Mandalorian.
I had been saving it because I was all over the place with what I watched, and I like to be able to watch stuff when I can watch it, when I can actually binge all of it. And I had started The Queen's Gambit and was like super. Have you seen that?
I haven't yet, but I will.
It's amazing. Because I tried to teach myself how to play chess a while ago, and varying degrees of success. But Queen's Gambit is amazing, and just again the way her mind works and the fact that she can like play all these things out in her head. It's so good. So I wanted to finish that first, but I just started the second season of The Mandalorian, and I'm working on getting a child in here somewhere, some sort of
baby
in here somewhere. Because
don't you just
he insanely cute. I'm like, how do people think of how to make these things this cute? I just don't understand it. But yeah.
Disney did. We're going off on the most amazing tangent, but it all talks about technology, so it's okay.
That's right.
Disney Plus released a series where they're going to be like digging into the behind the scenes stuff of a bunch of shows that they crank out. I'm imagining this is much to do with The Mandalorian and with all of the Avengers shows that they're going to be doing. But they did this backstage thing of The Mandalorian, and I could not recommend this more, especially as someone who loves the technology side of it, to understand that. What they were able to accomplish with technology for this show in particular is bonkers. And what I loved, and what my husband loved in particular, is that they're using video game technology, because it is light years past what people in movies and television have been working on, because everyone's doesn't count the video gamers, but they need to be counted, because that technology is insane.
I'm gonna check it out.
You're going to have to. I'm going to send you an email with all of my recommendations. My last question before we go, which is my little segue, but I love to ask particularly folks who are technologists, is what is your favorite automation? What is your favorite thing that has become tech-enabled? And what is something that you hope never becomes fully tech-enabled?
Ooh, that's a great question. Tech-enabled. Well, to be in tech, I am not a version 1.0 anything. I have a very, very healthy skepticism around technology. You know what I mean? I think that the potential for abuse and is just so prevalent that I tend to just take a wait and see approach with a lot of things. So I don't actually have, well, I won't say any, because Spider-Man is actually an internet, but I don't do any Internet of Things in my home. Right. I have a smart television. I do have a smart TV. I have, Spidey is IoT, but he is not connected anymore. But I don't have an Alexa. I don't do Google Home. I don't have Nest and the Hue lights that you can speak on, and I don't have a Ring doorbell. I'm not.
Now you're making me second guess all of my decisions, because I was against all of it.
Well, at some point, I know I'm going to have to sort of come into the light, if you will, but they just haven't done enough, especially when you talk about Internet of Things. They've done nothing for security. Honestly, they've done the bare minimum. Companies have just done the bare minimum as it relates to security around Internet of Things devices. So I just sort of stay away from them altogether. As far as automation goes, though, because of my brand and all of my content that lives on social, social automation has been where I found the most value. So just scheduling tools and things like that help me do that, because, as much as I love being on camera, I don't actually love being on social media that much. You know what I mean? And I don't, care to share every second of my day and be engaged and tethered to a device, to the point where I feel like I'm dependent on it and things like that. So I do tend to try to offload as much of that as possible. So if I could just get it all scheduled in a day or a couple of days, then I don't have to think about it and don't have to touch my phone, as much as I already do, which is a lot. So, that is where, I do welcome some automation. Where I would not want to see any automation or any more automation, honestly, driving. I'm so like, I don't trust that either. Like I'm fascinated, my sister and her husband both have Teslas. So I've driven Teslas. I've done the whole self-driving thing. I think there's a use case for it, but I never want us to get to the point where we literally just are hopping in vehicles that are unmanned. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't want to see our public transportation become such that it's a bunch of passengers on a Hyperloop that doesn't have a conductor or somebody there to do something if something goes wrong. You know what I mean? So that I think that would be it. Like that, like let, when you're talking about safety and lives and things like that, some things just don't need to be fully automated. And I'd have to say driving would be one of those.
I just learned yesterday that a friend of mine in California has been working on the Virgin Hyperloop. I had no idea that he is like an engineer on. I know. He was like, I've been working so hard for a year, and he posted the thing. I was like, I didn't even know you worked with them. And I think that's so interesting.
They just did a test. Yeah. So it's like, we're seems like we're steamrolling
I know,
in that direction.
Towards living like Wall-E. It is.
Right.
In our little pod, just have screens.
I know. And it's just, the more we do these kind of things, the lesser connected we all are. And it just all tends to, break us apart and keep us in these bubbles. And it's not necessarily a good thing.
Yeah. Have you read The Circle?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's not going to help any of your fears about technology, but it is an amazing book. It's an amazing book. And then they tried to make a movie out of it with Tom Hanks, and apparently it did very poorly. I didn't bother watching it.
That's why it sounds familiar to me. I feel like I remember something to that.
And I think Emma, oh my gosh, no.
Emma Thompson?
Yeah. No.
Emma, the young blonde.
No, the one from Harry Potter. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And the gal who was, she's in the Avengers movies. She's the sister, the robot sister in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah. Yep.
She's in it. Anyway, we digress again with The Circle. Couldn't recommend this more to anybody. If you have fears about technology, read this book and you will continue to be scared.
Yeah. And it's like all these people can't be wrong though, right? Like
I know. Well, it talks a lot about what we share, when we share, and why we share, and the two schools of thought that you should always be sharing because there are people who aren't able to have that experience and you are depriving them of that, which I do not agree with.
Yeah, that sounds a little suspect.
And then about privacy and about being on this big, beautiful planet that does not have to exist on a device for it to be amazing.
That's right.
I think you'll enjoy that book if you get a chance to pick it up.
All right.
Yeah. Well, Stephanie, thank you. This has been a delightful
This
conversation.
was so fun.
Yeah,
Thank you
this
so much
was
for
really
having me.
grand. Thanks everyone for coming along this really interesting ride with us, learning all of these things. Check out Stephanie on social media. Okay, she is there. She's doing some great things. She offers these 60-minute breaks where you can learn a little something interesting about something to do with technology. Her most recent was about vote.org.
There's one coming out today, actually, in about
good.
It's scheduled, so it'll be out in about an hour to help people with their holiday shopping.
Oh, super, which I can't believe we're having to start doing right now. It's wild. Well, thank you. And thanks, everybody. Again, we will have one final me-hosted event in December. Look out for that invite coming soon. And then happy to be passing the torch to our friends at Philly Startup Leaders. Thanks again to everybody. Stay safe out there. Please wear a mask. Keep one another safe and healthy. Let us get through this year and into a new one with health and safety in mind and supporting one another so we can get back out into the world and do that good work that we're all trying to do. If you want to learn more about Startup Grind, you can go to the website. If you want to learn more about 1776, you can check out our website. And this has been delightful. I look forward to continuing to follow you, Stephanie, and seeing what I'm sure will be a wonderful career helping people be good digital citizens.
Yes, my mission in life. Thank you so much for this opportunity. This was an awesome conversation. And I look forward to staying in touch with Startup Grind, with 1776, with PSL, and in whatever way I can help.
All right. Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your day. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.